Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and municipal news, and a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda. Your hosts, Emily Springstroh of Oshkosh Media and City Manager Mark Rohloff.
And thank you for joining us on GovTV for your City Manager's Report, your source for all of the latest and greatest news and updates that are happening right here in the city of Oshkosh, as well as a preview of the upcoming Common Council meeting agenda. I'm your host, Emily Springstroh, joined as always by our City Manager, Mark Rohloff. Mark, thanks as always for joining us today.
Great to be here, Emily.
It's great to have you. We're going to go ahead, dive into our hot topics for the first half of today's show. We'll take a little break, and when we return, we will take a look at some of the highlights from the upcoming Common Council agenda for June 26, 2018. So, Mark, the number one item that we are going to start off with for the first half is the transload terminal ribbon cutting that happened on June 13th. This was a huge deal here in Oshkosh and very exciting.
It was very exciting. I wasn't sure exactly what to expect because we've been working on this project for so long, but obviously the state of Wisconsin took a great interest in this. We received a $1 million Transportation Economic Assistance Grant, and a lot of people will say, well, what's this all about? And this started out with residents in Oshkosh saying that they didn't like some of the loading that the railroad was doing for some Oshkosh Corporation trucks. And we started to say, where could we move this to? And it went from where can we have a new loading spot for trucks to what more can we do there? And yes. Watco, which is the parent company of Wisconsin and Southern Railroad, have been wonderful to work with in terms of getting, identifying a market that they could benefit from to get more people to make use of rail to deliver their goods and service or their goods to market. So we're real happy that Watco worked with us, and of course Governor Scott Walker was there, and I think that generated a lot of media interest, and so we're excited about that. But we're very proud of the facility and all the work that's been done. It's a one-of-a-kind facility for a public entity in Wisconsin, and it's the only facility of any kind, public or private, in all of Northeast Wisconsin. So we're very proud of this whole project.
Yes, and you mentioned the governor was there, and we actually had a chance to chat with him after the ribbon cutting ceremony. So let's take a look at what he had to say, and then maybe we can talk about what the transload looks like and how it works. So let's take a listen.
Obviously glad to be here today in Oshkosh. What an exciting development, not only for Oshkosh Corporation, but for all the other businesses that are going to be a part of using this new site that really connects over-the-road transportation with freight rail transportation. Kudos to the city of Oshkosh for stepping up, for their partner Watco in terms of operating this facility and others throughout the state. And we were pleased, obviously, through the state to provide a $1 million Transportation Economic Assistance Grant through the Wisconsin Department of Transportation.
Really cool. And then there were demonstrations of how it works. So for those of us that don't know, Mark, maybe you can kind of give a little brief overview of what exactly a transload terminal is.
Well, the trucks here themselves, I think, are a really good example. And what you don't see in this video is the sound. Those are big trucks getting onto trains, and they make a lot of noise. So obviously we wanted to get it into a more industrial area so it was less disruptive. But it's much more efficient to transport vehicles like that, and basically a lot of products, transporting them through rail. So the transload facility offers businesses that maybe don't have rail access to suddenly become rail accessible. They can drive trucks to the transload facility. They'll get loaded off the trucks onto a train to do long hauls that can go great distances for very little money. Once the train picks up a head of steam, literally and figuratively, it's very fuel efficient. So that's really what this is all about. Oshkosh Corporation will be able to get their products to market quicker, but it's much more than just Oshkosh Corporation. We were told by Watco, the parent company for Wisconsin and Southern, they're getting clients from as far away as Wausau. So 90 miles away, they're willing to drive that distance to get this rail access. So I think it just shows you how cost effective it could be that people are willing to go a great distance to get towards a rail facility that will really serve them. So that's what it's about. You're not really going to see it until businesses start to say, hey, maybe we want to be located closer to this facility, which will cut our transportation costs even more. So the transload facility is tucked away in our Southwest Industrial Park. You may never drive by it, but knowing that it's there and what it's going to add to our local economy and help our businesses operate more efficiently and cost effectively is going to be wonderful.
Just a huge deal for Oshkosh, and even though it is behind the scenes, like you said, it all started with the noise complaints from neighbors that were nearby loading areas.
Yeah, so sometimes you don't like getting complaints, but when they really become something, so the residents help by saying something. Winnebago County was very big as part of this, and WADCO was, of course, helpful. The state of Wisconsin with the Transportation Economic Assistance Grant. We needed a local company to be the company sponsor. Oshkosh Corp stepped up. So a lot of great collaboration, which shows what can happen when you work on this type of thing.
Very exciting. So thanks for the background and update on that. For the full video of the ribbon cutting, you can visit our website to see all the speakers and the replay of the really exciting actual cutting of the ribbon with the locomotive. So moving down our list, Mark, it is ribbon cutting season. We've got a few to talk about today. So the next one that we're going to discuss here is the Go Transit ribbon cutting that took place yesterday to today's taping day here on CMR, June 19th, and a really exciting time down at the Downtown Transit Center. So let's go ahead and first start with a brief quote from Jim Collins, our transportation director at the event.
It's an exciting day for Go Transit and for our riders. We're replacing some 2003 buses that are well past their useful life. We finally got some new buses. It's been about 5 years of grant applications and paperwork to get to this point. So now these new buses will help ensure that we're safe and reliable for years to come. The new buses are more fuel efficient, and they actually emit 90% less emissions than the 2003 buses. The clean diesel technology has come a long way since 15 years ago. It'll be nice for the riders too to have, new seats, new floors. Drivers got new seats, so more comfortable for everyone.
Very exciting. So at the event, we were able to tour the new bus and see what those buses look like, a nice little ribbon cutting. So Mark, tell us a little bit about what this means for the Go Transit Department.
Well, actually, there are going to be a total of 7 new buses that we've acquired. Around 2003, we had gotten about 10 buses, and they were making up for a long time, have not gotten replaced. So now the cycle is starting again. So we have about 10 buses that are from the 2003 vintage. 15 years is about as much as you can get out of these things because they do a lot of miles, a lot of hard miles. City miles are just much tougher than freeway miles. So 7 of these buses coming through grants. About 80% of all these buses have been purchased with grant money from the state and federal government, so we're happy about that. East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission has been helpful in helping us get the grants, identifying those things. So those are all real positive things that we know that we're getting from that. We have 1 million riders on Go Transit. A lot of people don't realize that. So you're going to see empty buses a lot, but when people need to ride the bus, we have the capacity to transport those 1 million passengers. They may be not when you see them, but there's 1 million people riding for a reason.
Definitely, and I think the mayor mentioned in his talking points the lowest fares in the state, which is wonderful. So we're really proud of Go Transit and the updates that they're making to their buses to make it more comfortable for everybody. For more information, and go to ridegotransit.com if you're interested in looking at fares or annual passes, monthly passes, things like that. So one more ribbon cutting, Mark, that we're going to discuss here, and this one is coming up on June 28th, so we want to get a little plug in for the Seasand and Sailorland Playground ribbon cutting. Tell us a little bit about this project.
This is a project that really got initiated with the Menominee South Neighborhood Association. They're working with a couple of the neighborhood association groups, One Oshkosh, Greater Oshkosh Healthy Neighborhoods, as well as the city. So 4:30 p.m. on Thursday, June 28th, we've replaced the Seasand Sailorland exhibit or playland with a new area. Here's some renderings of that. And the neighbors were part of the whole process to get that done. And we're real happy that it's those types of things that make it very family friendly. Gives the neighborhood a focal point for them to meet up with people. You don't have to be a kid to just hang around the park and enjoy the scenery of Menominee Park. But it's there for everybody to enjoy, and we're happy to be using some of our great neighborhoods funds to help fund these types of facilities.
Just an awesome project, and it looks like a beautiful playground. So make sure you bring the kids June 28th, 4:30 p.m. at the Sea Sand and Sailorland Playground. So moving down our list for first half topics, Mark, we want to discuss the citizen survey and give a little bit of a recap on what was found this year. It's under new direction. It was distributed in new ways this year. So tell us a little bit about some of the hot topics of the citizen survey.
The council had asked staff to find a way to get the citizen survey to be more representative of the entire population. We were very underserved by respondents who were people of color, younger people, people making less than $25,000 a year. I think it was actually residents under the age of 40, that much underrepresented. And we had phenomenal results in terms of increasing their participation. Some of these are going to be really extreme, but it shows you how underrepresented we were. We saw a 600% increase in people of color participating. I like using that, but reality is we had less than 1%. Now we're up to like 6%. Really happy about that. Similarly, we doubled the number of people under the age of 40 that participated. A great increase again. And then for people under $25,000 a year, a 15-time fold increase in the number of people participating. And I think that was due to the new methods that they use. It's not just the mail survey anymore, that's been our mainstay, but we did an online survey, which actually got more middle-aged people responding to the survey, which was kind of fascinating. That isn't necessarily where we got the younger folks, but we got middle-aged people to do more. And then they also did field visits. They went to the Winter Farmers Market. They went down to the library. They wandered around UW Oshkosh campus. So they got a greater participation rate, which was great. The results, even though the profile is a little different, it's more representative, but the results are still consistent with what we've seen in the past in terms of identifying what services are most important to residents and what the quality of those services are. So the traditional services, police and fire, are very high in both terms of importance as well as quality. The library ranks very high in terms of importance and quality. And then there's other areas that rate very high in terms of importance, but don't match up as much on the quality side. And those are areas where there's benefit for room for improvement. Some of those areas were senior services, and I think it's more about people looking for things to do, and that's going to be a great challenge for the senior services. They actually got a really good rating, but the importance was so high that there's a gap there. Similarly, and we have to take our medicine every time, snow and ice removal. Now, the survey's done in February, so you have to take that with a grain of salt, but we know that that's something we need to continue and improve on because 88% of the residents say it's very important. So, of course it is. At that time of year, it's even more important. So we're excited to be able to take these results and use them for future reference.
Right, and that was going to be my next question is what exactly is done with this data that is collected through the citizen survey?
This is the 10th year of our survey, and Council has taken the survey every year and really used it as a way to determine what priorities should exist for future budgets and identifying room for improvement, areas where we should keep the pedal down and keep working towards being better or continuing the level of quality that we do provide. It's those types of things. There's always room for improvement, and there's areas where we should keep maintaining it. So we're happy to use these results for future budgets.
Excellent. And these results will be available at some point once they're polished and finalized and everything on the city website, correct?
Yep, we have an executive summary we're going to share with council and then the bigger report. And there's a lot of stuff in there that you got to absorb. But yeah, we'll have it on the website soon.
Excellent. So moving on, we are very proud of the Oshkosh Public Museum. They've worked very hard on their new exhibit for the People of the Waters, and they've received a national award for all of their hard work from the American Association for State and Local History. So this is just a great national recognition here in little old Oshkosh, which is great.
I think the work that Brad Larson and the staff at the museum working collaboratively with so many different groups, including the Native American groups, really stood out with this, getting this award of merit, because I think they liked the fact that we just didn't pull out an old history book and retell history. We found other elements of history that hadn't been told before. People of the Waters is an outstanding exhibit, and now it's getting national recognition. So certainly I'm going to encourage people to go to the museum and just take a look at it. There's a lot of innovation, a lot of interactivity, great design, and again, the stakeholder involvement is really important with that. So we're very proud of the museum and the work they've done to get this award.
Excellent. So we are at the bottom of our list for first half topics. So we are going to give our viewers a chance to ask the city manager anything they want about things that are happening here in Oshkosh, different projects or things that they see just driving down the road. So that's right, it is question mark. So let's go ahead and see what the question is this week. So Mark, this question came from Twitter this time, and that is, what's our noise ordinance? Why is the city trimming trees so loudly at 7:30 a.m.?
Well, the person may not like the response I'm going to give, but our code is very specific about the noise ordinance requires nothing earlier than 7 a.m. So our crews do start around 7 a.m. normally. And so by 7:30, I expect them to be out there working. Mm-hmm. Some people, because of their schedule, that may not be as that may be a little disruptive. Maybe if you work a late shift or something like that, and I certainly understand it. But our code does say 7 a.m. And if there's any time outside of 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., they have to get special permission from council. So that doesn't happen too often. Generally, we get it done in that window. And summertime, I know people, have different expectations, but that's just the way it goes. But I appreciate the question, and people ask, and that's the answer.
And it's a great thing to know for neighbors too, if you're doing yard work, things like that. You can find the city's municipal ordinance on the city website. So it's just on the side of the homepage if you want to click and peruse that for more information on our municipal ordinances. So if you'd like to send a question to Mark, send it to us on Twitter, send it to us on Facebook, go ahead and email it to us, and he will answer it on the next episode of City Manager's Report. Now, Mark, I'm going to make an executive decision, and I think we're just going to go right into the agenda because we took our time with the first half, and we've got plenty to talk about. So
we had a lot of fun, so let's keep rolling.
We'll go ahead, skip our break, and dive right into the City Council meeting agenda for June 26, 2018. First thing that we want to mention here is the workshop that's going to be taking place prior to the meeting at 5 p.m. With the Rental Housing Advisory Board. So what exactly is going to be discussed at this workshop? Well,
we've been talking a lot about the rental inspection ordinance, and we need to make some changes based on a new state law, which was now called Act 317. But it was a law that changed, and it's going to impact the way we can administer our rental housing inspection program. So we're going to explain what Act 317 means, what we can and we can't do. The main thing that we can do is now we can identify specific districts, designate them so that we can develop a rental housing program in areas that we feel are the areas that really need it. Previously, we had to do it on a citywide basis, so we're happy that we're able to do that. There's some limitations on what we can charge, which is going to be a challenge, and we want to talk about that. And then some other details about things that we may need to change, things that we may want to look at expanding for all housing, both rental and single family. So we'll take a look at those things and get feedback from both the Rental Housing Board as well as the council, because we're going to need to change our ordinance, and this is the first step.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to a lot of good dynamic discussion during that workshop, as well as learning a little bit more about the rental inspections program. Moving down under public hearings, we've got the approval of the final resolution for special assessments, and that's for the pavement, apron, sidewalk, and utilities for contract 1813. So there's quite a list of projects here. Maybe you can take us through. A large chunk of them is relating to a specific project.
Sure. There's really two general areas that we're talking about here. One, we talked about a few weeks ago, but it bears repeating. It's that area that's both north and south of Oshkosh Avenue, Highway 21, just west of the Fox River Bridge. The area there, we really need to get our sewers redone in that area, as well as put a lift station in over at Mary Jewel Park. But we're going to be doing a little bit of sidewalk work and, of course, paving. So we do special assess for that, so we're inviting the residents to come and talk to council before they implement anything with respect to special assessments under our policy. So you're going to see a lot of activity over this area. just to clarify, this has nothing to do with Oshkosh Corporation. In fact, during construction, you're not going to see trucks going up and down that street. There, you might see some vehicular traffic, but not construction traffic. The construction traffic won't be going over there. But this is something that's long overdue, and we're happy to get it done for these residents.
Perfect. And then the Hughes Street item here, what is that dealing with?
That's that area that's adjacent to the east side of the airport, goes up and down. It covers some over by Oshkosh Corporation's South Plant, as well as the airport. Hughes Street is pretty well beaten up, and it's time to get that one paved. So it's going all the way from Waukau Avenue. It's still southwest of Oregon Street. This shows the area. That's probably a little more than what we are actually doing, but the area that, if you've been driving down Hughes Street, you know how bad it is, and we're just catching up on getting that done.
Perfect. And then right after that, another public hearing is the approval of the submittal of 2018 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan, otherwise known as the CDBG. So tell us about this, Mark.
This is an annual program that's a grant from the federal government, which is a block grant, which means that it's given to the city to determine what priorities exist for Oshkosh versus some other community gets this grant. And because we have a little more discretion, they want to make sure that we get public participation. So this is a hearing to say, here's what we're planning to spend our community development block grant dollars, and we want your input. You're going to see a lot of things there, but the theme is that it benefits low and moderate income residents. So the program that we put together is to address how we're going to do that. Our rental rehabilitation program, our housing improvement programs, the loan programs that we have, those are all done through the CDBG program, as well as a lot of our neighborhood initiatives, especially those in targeted areas with low to moderate income folks. It's just part of the process, and we're happy to be participating in this program. A little bit of an increase over last year, so
Great.
We're happy. It's going to be about $815,000 this year.
Wonderful. Well, it's great to see this coming through to help out the low to moderate income folks in our community. So coming down to the consent agenda, Mark, we've got the approval of a street name change from Emmers Lane to Northwest Haven Drive. Tell us a little bit, where exactly is Emmers Lane?
Well, Emmers Lane is just north of Highway 21, or Amro Road out there. It's at the corner where Aurora Medical Center is and where Walgreens is. And that street right in front of Walgreens is actually called Emmers Lane, even though most people see it as an extension of West Haven Drive. Right. The folks out there are making the request. Choice Bank is relocating one of their branches there, and their headquarters is going to be located there. And they checked around, and it seems like most people are in agreement. So the idea is to get it changed to Northwest Haven, which I think in the long run would be an improvement and help people relate better to where it's located.
Sure. Moving down under pending ordinance returning from Traffic Review Board, prohibiting left turns from Jackson Street onto New York Ave between the hours of 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. So what exactly was the issue here that's causing this to take place?
There were some other issues unrelated to the prohibiting of left turn movements that the council heard about, and they kicked it back to the Traffic Review Board to say, what do you think about those things? The Traffic Review Board said that's a lot more detail than what you can do in a quick fix. They're still recommending that we do these no left turn movements from 3 to 7 p.m., basically afternoon rush hour. And the other issues they're certainly willing to take a look at, but that's going to take a great deal more. It's going to take some funding as well as some time to look at all the issues. There's some residents there, the single family residences up and down Jackson Street. They have some concerns, but they're unrelated to this no left turn movement issue. So they're bringing it back to council to say, focus on the left turn and we can look at these other issues later on.
Okay, excellent. Under new resolutions, we've got something that was recommended by Plan Commission, I believe it was last night, and that's the approval of conditional use permit and general development plan for a multifamily development on the northwest corner of West 6th and Oregon. So tell us a little bit about the background on this project.
This is what's called the Morgan District, whether it's the Geldwin Company, Morgan Door, any of those. It's that site that's been there. Local folks purchased it a few years ago, and they've got some ideas on what they would like to do. There have been some changes over the last couple of years, but they seem to be settling in on something, and it's going to be done in phases. But these are some renderings of what the residential portion of these buildings would look like. You can see there are going to be some 4-story residential apartments along the river. So the idea is that to show what they're going to be and add some value to the downtown, as well as some housing opportunities, which I think there will be a demand for. So Plan Commission reviewed it the other day, and they're passing it along to council, and we're excited to see some progress in the Morgan district.
It's very exciting, and there's been a lot of talk about different things happening in this area. So any idea of timeline, or is it still way early to tell that?
I think it's probably early for that, but I think the whole idea is they want to know that they're getting the blessing of the Plan Commission and Council before they proceed. So they're being cautious about not counting their eggs before they're hatched.
Right.
But I think they're moving towards getting that done. So I see this as I see them being serious about getting this done.
Excellent. Moving down to the last page of the agenda here under council member announcements and statements. This is kind of an interesting one, reaffirming the historical designation of Rainbow Memorial Park. The mayor is going to be talking about this and kind of tell us what happened to the memorial in Rainbow Park.
I would love the mayor and our museum director, Brad Larson, to be doing this rather than you and me, because they have just a wonderful historical perspective on this. A lot of people, who haven't been around the city for years, don't realize that rainbow isn't, rainbow and unicorns. It has to do with the unit from World War I that consisted of a lot of Oshkosh residents. So that's the old sign from many, many years ago. There is a sign there in the park that still memorializes that, but here's the current sign we're getting ready to replace, and it just says Rainbow Park. And it kind of misses the historical significance. And our museum director, Brad Larson, tells a wonderful story about the history of the Rainbow Unit and how they served so valiantly in World War I. And so it's just reaffirming that that's something that we want to talk about. We want to celebrate our history. So we're going to start calling it Rainbow Memorial Park like it's always been. We thought we were going to have it renamed. It never got unchanged, so we don't have to.
Lost,
we don't have to. It just got lost over the years. So we're going to start calling it Rainbow Memorial Park to make sure we're honoring our veterans from World War I.
Wonderful, love that. So then the last item that we have to mention here is under your announcements and statements, Mark, and that is the council meeting date change for to Wednesday, August 15th, 2018. Why is this getting changed?
Well, this is the main reason is not so much that the meeting's getting moved. Whenever an election is on a Tuesday of a council meeting, it's automatically moved to Wednesday. So that'll be in August. But the main reason we're reminding you so far in advance, 2 months before it's actually happening, is because we are going to have the primary election on Tuesday, August 14th. So I know there's some elections going on with primary for on the Democratic side for governor, and on the Republican side for U.S. Senate. Just so you know, in a primary, you have to choose one party or the other. You can't flip-flop between parties. You can pick one or the other, but you can't pick both. So between now and August 14th, decide which side you want to.
Give you some time to think about it, right?
Decide which side you want to vote on. But we want to let people know, because it's summertime and may be a little more difficult, but we want you to be there for the primary election, and there'll be early voting as well. And if you want to find your polling place, just visit our website. City Clerk's office link gives you all the information you need.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for the heads up on that, Mark, and that's going to cover our items for today's episode of City Manager's Report. So thanks so much for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure.
Again, the Common Council meeting is this Tuesday, June 26th. It's at 6 p.m. You can watch it live on GovTV and on our website, oshkoshmedia.org. Or you can listen to it on 101.9 Oshkosh FM, which is also online, and on the TuneIn Radio app. Make sure to like Oshkosh Media on Facebook or follow us on Twitter for all of your community and government programming and updates, or check out our YouTube channel for government meeting replays and past episodes of your favorite programs. Don't forget, if you have a question for City Manager Mark Rohloff, send it to us on Twitter, post it to our Facebook page, or email it to us, and he will answer it on the next episode of CMR. So as always, thank you for joining us on City Manager's Report, and we'll see you next time.